Voices of Resiliency, where the wound becomes wisdom and the story becomes medicine. Voices rise, hearts remember, we are healing together.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Kris, and welcome to another episode of Voices of Resiliency. I'm here with Michael Pellegrino, my co-host. How are you, Michael?
How we doing there, sir?
Oh, fantastic, man. I'm really excited about today. You know how much I love this guy. So
He's special.
Always look forward to talking to Whiz. Whiz Buckley, how are you, brother? It's good to see you,
fellas.
today.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, man, and thank you for being here. You are what I would consider the epitome of resilient, so I think this is appropriate for you to be here to talk about the resiliency from all angles, from the service in the military to Wall Street to the rest of the stuff that goes on and has been going on lately. But hey, let's first of all, congratulations on the this new executive order, which is certainly right in the line of fire for your for No Fallen Heroes Foundation, which
that was a very surreal moment.
You've been working on that for a long time, and had to be one of those.
Yeah, I appreciate
really
that.
Amazing.
It was funny because man, I was sitting on the couch Friday. I had just gotten back from a 2-day conference at Harvard Divinity School. Man, if you had told me I'd be at Harvard anything, maybe as a topic at the law school, it's like a defendant. But yeah, 2-day
maybe
conference.
A case study or something.
Yeah, exactly. Harvard Divinity School, 2-day conference on religion and psychedelics. So I was kind of exhausted, long week, and Friday, market closed, 5 o'clock. I'm turning off my phone, laptop. I need to decompress, man. Let's take a break.
Yeah, right.
And man, my phone rang, and it said White House. I'm like, what kind of spam guy got that? I'm like, I'm taking this. This is gonna be funny.
I'm gonna answer this phone.
It was White House. So, yeah, hey, you in D.C.? I'm like, man, I'm in God's waiting room. I'm in Boca Raton. They're like, can you executive order signing tomorrow at 9 in the Oval Office? Can you make it? I'm like, I'll start walking. So I'll hop in my car right now. But thankfully, there was a JetBlue flight and 8 o'clock, and I made it up there.
Wow.
11:30, and 8:30 in the morning, walking up to the White House gates was just. It was so, and Marcus, my original medicine brother, Navy SEAL, lone survivor, Marcus Luttrell, saw me walking up. He's like, "Oh man, I didn't know you were coming down to the party." And I reminded him. I said, "Man, we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary of our heading to Mexico." He's like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Could you imagine, man, if 5 years ago when we were laying on those mattresses in a home on the floor in Mexico, that somebody would have said, 'Hey, 5 years from now, you're going to be in the Oval Office with President Trump signing executive order,' man,
wow.
It's just there's no way in hell I could have. So I'm still floating on that a little bit. I took a selfie me in the Oval Office. I'm like, there's no way this is happening. So yeah, it was that was a lot of. I guess that was 57 years in the making, technically, man.
Yeah, really. I mean,
and in a moment like that, I really. Can look back in my life and say, you know what, I can find gratitude in my suffering. I'm grateful for the bad things that happened in my life because it brought me to that moment in time, which was pretty cool. So
it's one of our biggest lessons, gratitude.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If you can find gratitude in suffering, you're making money. You can. There's something in that.
Sure.
Every dark night of the soul, in hindsight. When I was in it, sucked. Hell, lying on a bathroom floor and by myself in a condo in Fort Lauderdale on my way out, and the only thing that kept me here was the faces of my beautiful kids and my bride. In that moment, you don't have a lot of gratitude, but in hindsight, I could see what God had planned.
So we've had a couple conversations already, so I know your story, but give us a synopsis of everything that's happened, basically. Bring us to current day from where it all began so everybody knows your story, because I think it's relevant to talk about all of that.
Yeah. executive summary. Born in South Jersey, my Irish Catholic family, 6 kids. My brother and 3 sisters were born in South Philly. Go Birds.
I'm a Birds fan.
There we
I'm a
go.
season
Let's
ticket
go.
holder, so.
Yeah, no, there we go.
Yeah.
I grew up Ron Jaworski and Cunningham. And,
You're coming to a game with me this year.
oh, hell yeah. So they were born. They were from Philly. My parents moved down to Margate, the Shore. So
Very well.
born in South
What's that,
Jersey.
Memories of Margate?
Memories. Jerry Blavitt.
Jerry Blavitt.
The
the
heater.
heater with the heater.
I think I've been thrown out of there a couple times. So Irish Catholic kid, altar boy, Catholic schools, all that stuff. I joked that we made the Pope look Jewish. It just didn't get any more Catholic than the Buckleys of South Jersey. Unfortunately, I was sexually abused, and then the glue. My middle sister Monica, she was a freshman in college up at Villanova. She was killed by a drunk driver when she was 19, and that was a hand grenade. That was it. To this day, I can still hear my father screaming at the top of his lungs when the phone rang at 2 a.m. That'll stay with me forever. Kind of lost my parents that night too. They were done. Yeah. They were done.
Couldn't imagine.
And so it was my brother, John, and my sister Marilyn and Monica. They were all at Villanova, and they were all at a fraternity party. And my brother and sister Marilyn are like, "Hey, we're going back to campus. Do you want to ride?" She's like, "No, I'm going to go with these guys." So I was at home with me and my little sister. So that was tough. I was going into high school, St. Augustine Prep, all boys Catholic school. Thanks, Mom and Dad. So it was brutal. It was a very tough. It was tough. In between St. Augustine, I played sports, and in between St. Augustine Prep and our home was the cemetery. And my dad stopped. I missed the bus because I played. He'd pick me up, and he stopped every day, and he cried every day at her grave. So it was, what do you do with childhood trauma? It's go in the military. Yeah. So
Press it down. Don't say anything.
yeah, I always knew. I grew up on the beach. My parents, kind of Kennedy type of, service and country, and I always loved aviation and the beach and ocean. I'm like, I want to fly jets off of carriers, man. This is before, this is how old I am. This is before Top Gun came out. So I was a junior in high school when Top Gun came out, and then everybody wanted to be in it. I'm like, that's great. Perfect. Appreciate it, God. So really had to try and really had to study. So I went to school down here in Florida, up in Jacksonville. Met my beautiful bride, Susie. We're college sweethearts. And then... I think they were all drinking that day, but somehow I snuck into naval aviation and jets, and it just kind of kept...
Highway to the danger zone?
Yeah, it was. Did 2 deployments over to Iraq on the Abraham Lincoln and the Kitty Hawk.
Thank you for your service.
You bet, man. Abraham Lincoln is there right now, Operation Epic Fury. That was my first boat. Went to Top Gun. Did all that type of stuff. But in 15 years of flying fighters, I lost 16 buddies. Not a single combat loss. Training, stupidity, bad weather, mechanical issues, and all those in different orders. So 16 buddies. And then along the way, I've lost 4 F-18 brothers to suicide, including the best man in my wedding, Captain Eric Swenson Swede. Beautiful bride, 5 kids, decided to... I didn't want to be here anymore. And so 4 suicides, 16 buddies. And then I had a very brief airline career, man. The morning of so in 2000, I won the lottery. What's the lottery? I got off active duty flying fighter jets, and I got picked up by the reserves. I was going to do that on the weekend. And I got hired by American Airlines. So that was the lotto ticket, man, was being an airline pilot and flying fighters part-time. Morning of September 11th, first flight for American Airlines. I'm packing for my trip, DFW to Miami. We're living in Fort Worth. My wife comes in holding our first son. Like, you better come look at the TV. Somebody hit the World Trade Center with an airplane. I'm like, I'm busy, woman. Bad weather. Small airplane. And she just had this look, and I'm like, So I went and looked. I saw what you guys saw. Not a cloud in the sky. Big smoking hole fire. And I'm standing there going through my mental aviation checklist of how that possibly could happen. Next plane hits. I'm like, we're under attack. I immediately knew we were under attack. I ran into the bedroom. It's still in my closet. I have it as like a keepsake. But my American Airlines uniform from the cleaners, it's still in the plastic. Moved that out of the way, and I threw on my flight suit, threw on my boots. I had an old 89 Porsche. I like broke the land speed record getting out to Naval Air Station Fort Worth. Got out there just as they closed it, went to a combat ThreatCon Delta. And me and another squadron mate, Gruff, made it out there. And we called down the maintenance chief. What do you got? He's like, we got 4 jets. I said, fueled 2 of them. We got any missiles? He's like, we got 20 mil. We got bullets. I'm like, put the bullets in the nose. Gruff and I are in here. It was like Lexington and Concord, man. We were just, other phone rang. It was the Air Force guys next door. They were tied into NORAD, and it was the general. He's like, Whiz, what do you got? I'm like, it's me and Gruff. He's like, I got 4 F-16 guys. I got 4 Viper guys here. Get over to the command post. Let's brief up. And we ran over there, man. Our command, most of the guys in our reserve squadron obviously were airline pilots. Our commanding officer was airborne. He was a Delta captain. We didn't ask. This was time to execute. And I'll never forget being in the command post, TV's on there, boom, the tower's falling, missing plumb. We're like, we got to get airborne. The Air Force guys, since they do this for a living, they got airborne first. Gruff and I taxied to the end of the runway, and we were going to get airborne when they ran out of gas. But by the time they ran out of gas, everybody had landed. So I bring this up because I had a brief airline career. I got like a photocopied letter the next week that said, you're furloughed, which is polite airline terminology for laid off, right?
Yeah, fired.
So when I was on active duty, I taught myself how to trade. Right, I was always interested in finance, right? And so I kind of applied everything I was learning flying a fighter jet to trading, because trading is a form of combat when you think about it. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to get their ass kicked. Which side do you want to be on? So I started trading. I had to pay the mortgage, man. I lost my health care, my dream airline job. I'm kind of in a bad place here. And I popped up on the radar of a equity options volatility arbitrage firm in Chicago in the Board of Trade. And what do you do? I'm like, well, I kind of apply this. They're like, well, get up here. We'd love to talk to you. I felt like Eddie Murphy in Trading Places, right? They hired. I'd never seen that many zeros in my life, right? I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, there's like 2 extra zeros here.
Not just one, but
yeah, exactly. So here's why this is so interesting in my life is because we moved to Chicago. My wife's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I have no idea. Let's go. Let's just walk in the path will appear. So I get up to Chicago, and I'm commuting back to Fort Worth to stay current as still flying a fighter jet. So I'm going from a fighter squadron where you trust the men and women with your life, or they're not part of that organization for long, to a Wall Street firm where I couldn't trust most of those people to watch my wallet if I went to the bathroom for 5 minutes. I mean,
You were the wolf.
yeah. Sole focus on money. It was gross. I'm not joking. There were guys who would probably push their own mother in front of a bus for $1. And I got spun up in that, man. I got even further disconnected from my God, my bride, my kids, drugs, alcohol. It's a tough culture, man. And I was spinning out of control. And then before it got too bad, I'm like, let's escape. My wife's from Boca. I'm like, I think I can do this on my own. This is killing me. So we moved down here, and I started my own company called Big Marketing Department, TOPGUN Options. So we teach people how to.
Name.
Yeah,
What have I learned?
I took a lot of money and time to come up with that name. So I was doing that for a while, and then 2020, December 2019, I had a buddy in the White House. He's like, man, something escaped the only level 4 weapons lab in China. They're digging up the highways around this city. It's called Wuhan or something. They're flying in mobile crematoriums. We're freaking out. I'm like, really? So I engaged in what I call outsider trading. I told everybody. I lost like 3 Facebook accounts, Twitter at the time. But guess what? I placed so many bearish positions. I have testimony. I have a whole Dropbox folder from TOPGUN Options members. Little old ladies in tennis shoes became multimillionaires. And we did $2.5 million in about 2.5 weeks, about 3 weeks of trading as the market. Do you remember all the smart money at the time, like on CNBC, like, oh, this is the bottom, I'd buy here, down 3,000 points. I think it was Bill Ackman's like, we need to close the markets and everybody. I'm like, no, I'm on the other, So I bring this up because after I just printed filthy money in 2020, that's when my fourth F-18 brother checked out. I'm like, Susie, we got to do something about veteran suicide. We're not a pharaoh. They're not going to put all that money in our casket for us to take to the next place, man. Why don't we do something with it? So we started a nonprofit to try and end veteran suicide. But how do you keep a veteran from killing himself, right? Mm-hmm. I'm standing in front of the whiteboard in my office going, buy him a new suit, help him pay the rent, help him with a resume service. I was clueless. And then around that time, a buddy of mine's like, hey, a veteran buddy, there's a group of Navy SEALs that go down to Mexico, and they do psychedelic-assisted therapy, and there's a really cool group going in a couple weeks. Would you want to go? And I'm like, man, go to Mexico and do drugs with Navy SEALs? I'm like, sign me up. Where's this been? I had no clue where that was going to go, man. And short story long, yeah.
It was a nice, peaceful, easy transition, right?
Yeah, oh my God.
To hear Whiz tell the story of Mexico is absolutely amazing.
I was a 52-year-old man at the time. I think maybe as a kid I tried to flip into a pool once or twice and land on my back. As a 52-year-old man, I did a flip in a bed in Mexico. I don't remember it. It was an exorcism. So yeah, so there's your executive summary of me and how I ended up sitting here today, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. But yeah, going to Mexico and sitting with psychedelic-assisted therapy was just, it saved and changed my life. I was a drinker up to a year after sitting with the compound called Ibogaine. If I smelled alcohol, it made me dry heave. It made me physically ill. Now, if Susie and I want to have a steak or some pasta, I can have a glass of wine. But old me, a glass of wine was the bottle, probably 2 for me.
It doesn't stop.
It destroyed alcohol in my life. It healed decades of trauma. I reconnected with my sister. I reconnected with my God. After I lost my faith for decades. Type of God allows you to get molested and kills your sister. Man, it was the most spiritual, religious experience of my life. And then, to put a cherry on top, about a year ago, I was sitting there meditating, or however it just came to me. It's like, man, when you were an altar boy, the priest, through the power of transubstantiation, turns that wine and that wafer into the actual body and blood of Jesus. And if you're not Catholic, people go, well, it represents that. No, that's the actual, which as a young kid, that creeps you the hell out. I'm like, those compounds to me in Mexico were sacraments. Compared to that bread and that wine, these reconnected me directly with God. No middleman, no priest, no altar, no. So a year ago, I said, Susie, guess what we're doing now? She's like, let's go. And it's never a dull moment. I'm like, we're starting a church. So we started Sacred Warrior Fellowship, a 508c1a entheogenic church based here in Florida. And we use these compounds as sacraments. We are I defended the Constitution for 15 years and the First Amendment, the free exercise of religion. Now I'm going to exercise it. So that's why I was up at the Harvard Divinity School and stuff like this. And it's so funny, man, because some people throw, oh, you're trying to get around. I ain't getting around nothing, man. Let's review. Let's do a little Constitution review here. Congress shall make no law. Political science major from South Jersey. I can understand that. Congress shall make no law establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, years ago, who was it? It was like an American Indian church or they were using ayahuasca or something, peyote in ceremony, and like the DEA raided them. And they're like, Well, first, we've been here first. Let's lead with that.
Yeah,
And second of all, these are sacraments. And I think it went to the Supreme Court. It was like 9-0. Like, yeah, if these are used for honest religious purposes, they're completely legal. But the DEA tries to insert itself, and you can apply your religion, fill out this 90-page form, and we'll get you in maybe 3 to 5 years and maybe approve your religion. I'm like, Benjamin, get my musket. I ain't applying to nowhere in that Constitution doesn't say you have to apply and we'll approve your church. You can kiss my ass. So, I'm completely in the open about all that stuff. Up at Harvard,
public about that. For sure.
I think there's like 500 or more entheogenic churches in the U.S. and it's growing because of this.
Yeah.
This is. It doesn't get any more spiritual or religious than what I experienced laying on a mattress in Mexico. It wasn't fun. It wasn't recreational. I've done some challenging things in my life, man, and that was one of the most challenging things I've ever experienced. I was down with the Ibogaine. I was down for 14 hours easily. We went with JT, Jared Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee. It was me, JT, Marcus Luttrell, JJ, a teammate, Navy SEAL, and Robert Gallery, an All-American from Iowa. This guy's a huge dude. Was inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame, played for the Raiders. Let me tell you about Robert Gallery, because he was the only civilian with us. Flew into San Diego, and you hop in a bunch of cars and we go to the clinic in Mexico. Why? Because if you do this in San Diego, you're a felon. If you do it an hour south, it'll save your life. Go figure. So I end up in the car with Robert Gallery, and this guy's a 6'8", 350-pound. I was sitting next to like a dead iceberg. If you hear him today, he's like, Whiz, that was it. That didn't work. I was going back to Lake Tahoe, and I was going to put a bullet in my head. He's like, that was it. So I'm like in his car with this guy. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like, I think I'm in a bad place. Fast forward, he was down day and a half easily with the Ibogaine. They ran an IV and everything like that, because they don't know you have CTE until you die, and they open up your grape, sadly. But he's like, I know I have CTE. He is let me fast forward a year after that. Like me looking upstairs. We're all downstairs, like eating. Like a day later, we're like looking at the doc. They're like, it's okay. The medicine, he's getting exactly what he needs. We're like, oh my God, is he alive up there? We're at a fundraiser a year later in San Diego, and Susie and I are walking. It's really crowded. Some guy throws his elbow. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get my ass kicked. What is this? It was him, and I didn't even recognize him.
Wow.
He is a different human being. So Ibogaine and a lot of these other psychedelics have neuroplasticity. They can go in and regrow dead or damaged neural pathways and even create new ones. We helped a Navy SEAL who was a breacher, right? At the door, explosive. He showed us his brain scans from the VA. Dark, gray, black. 3 months after Ibogaine, white, completely clear. Mm-hmm. So it was the most life-changing thing I've ever experienced in my life. And that's why it was just incredible to be in the Oval Office, to be standing there 3 feet from Trump. It was so funny as he read the executive order, because clearly he didn't read it before. He's like, I'm here to talk about Ibogaine. Ibogaine. Am I saying it right? It's like, and as he read, he's like, you could tell he was initially bored, and then he's like, Stanford study, 85% of Navy SEALs were healed. Wait a minute, we're healed? Like, what? He started, like, as it went on, he kept going. He looked at whoever it was, the FDA commissioner or Dr. Oz or RFK Jr. was like, how do SRIs do? They're like, single digits. He's like, 80% of these SEALs were here. He's like, can I get some? As soon as he said, can I get some, the whole Oval Office, I said, if you hear, I go, yeah, that was me. I'm like, yeah. So it was pretty incredible. And even one of the little old ladies in the lab coats was like, I was not a believer. I was the biggest skeptic, and I'm a complete convert. So the fact that I was in the Oval Office talking about Ibogaine, and Brian Hubbard, the guy who was right next to Joe Rogan, he said, Mr. President, the war on psychedelics is over. Thank you for ending the war, something like that. I'm like, wow. So, man, if you had told me 5 years ago, I'd be sitting with you guys talking about this. There's no way. I would have kicked my own ass.
No, but I think it's evident you've been a big part of that. I mean, you've actually been speaking out. You've been on news stations. You've been really putting yourself out there over the last 5 years and risking, life, liberty, and everything else because, you're the perfect person to be the front man, but also you have the background knowing how poli-sci works and understanding the law. And not a lot of people are going to stand on their religion and go, hey, look, come get me, DEA. But you've done it a few times on different podcasts and different shows and on mainstream media.
I've faced scarier people, man.
I'm always like, I'm glad that's Whiz and not me. I'm going to visit him when he gets in.
You know what's interesting, man? Because old Whiz, I would have been scared. Now, man, I have no fear. I actually don't, because if something did happen, it's part of the plan.
That's right.
Right? And I'm not one that throws scripture around because I don't, walk in the path will appear. Knock and the door will be open. Ask and it will be given. So if anything were to happen along those lines, I'm divinely, it's part of it. It's
by design.
I'm ready to go. I mean, it would be a beautiful moment. Old Whiz would look at like a dude in that type of situation going through that, like, dude, you're an idiot, man, and you're weird. Now I get it. Especially sitting with the one compound called 5-MeO-DMT, it was just, man, it was, I can't even explain the bliss and just the absolute.
This is day 2 after the Ibogaine.
Yeah. So it's called 5-MeO-DMT. It's the God molecule. And it answered a question I had for decades about my sister. At that point, 40 years, I had always wondered if she was bored in heaven. Like, are they up there going, where's everybody? It's kind of taking a while.
Long, yeah.
There's no time. We created time. There is no such thing as time. I was in this perfect state of bliss. I've never felt like that love and perfect state of anything. And I wasn't like, wow, this has been going on for a while. When's it end? Or, it was just absolute perfection. So why do I bring that up is because before I had to come back into this like imperfect vessel, God was kind of like, do you get it? It's like, this is your default state, man. This is where you come from. You have nothing to fear. I got you. This is natural. I tell people, I'm like, this is hell or purgatory if you want. This is war, poverty, crime. This sucks. Our natural default state is awesome. So long point to your quick point is I'm okay with anything that's supposed to happen, man. I still fly, and I guess you don't want to hear a pilot ever talk like this, but I have no fear of death. Now, I want to have grandkids and yell at them to get off the lawn and stuff. I don't want to go anywhere, but I feel so confident in everything. But it's quiet. It really doesn't have to be loud. I just stay in my lane and do the work. It's funny. I call it the world's greatest Ponzi scheme because when you heal, the people get home like, man, I got to tell everybody. You want to put the ladder down and help somebody out. It feels good, right? And I always tell people when you go flying on an airliner, what do they tell you? If we lose cabin pressurization, put the mask on who first?
Yourself.
You.
Yeah.
You ain't good to anybody else
if you're done.
If you're not good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So put the mask on yourself first, and then you're going to be able to go help everybody.
Yeah.
It certainly does, and I think that explains why he's here for resiliency. That didn't cover it all in one swoop. I mean, okay, we're good here.
Was that a question?
So how does this relate to resiliency? Let's see.
Well,
I think we're solid on that one. I think we're clear, crystal clear. I agree. I think everything's taken care of, and this is a very small glimpse of time in the big picture of infinity. And so, we've created all the illusions that we have to live here with. But
I knew just a small part of that story, just a very, very small part. I didn't know about the 9/11 portion of it. I didn't know any of that. And
the beauty is too is he found his light. Coming back and he saw his wife. First time he saw her, compared to where he was when he left. And I remember the first time I had him on my podcast, I said, "What's it like to land a jet on a boat?" That was the first question.
That's where I want to go. I want to go into the Marcus Luttrell. I want to go into all this kind of stuff.
You have to watch my podcast. It was a good one. Watch his podcast.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, it was a great one. But his story is beautiful. I think it's an amazing story of resilience and continuing to help other people all every day, all day, pouring himself into it, and finally got a little bit of a we're making progress. Things are moving forward.
Well, and one of my buddies, Daniel Carcillo, hockey player, 2-time Stanley Cup champ, Car Bomb.
Yeah.
He's in the medicine space. 7-8 concussions.
Oh, CTEs, big time.
Went to Peru, tightened a bump. So
Yeah.
he runs a couple state licensed clinics in Oregon and Colorado. But Car Bomb turned me on to one of his I think he was on the Flyers or the Blackhawks. My Morning Jacket, great song. The more you give, the more you get. Tell it to the world. It's so true. I found the more I'm giving and not expecting anything in return, magically, guess what happens? So just and
It's the truth.
this line always makes me tear up, and I used to not really get it, but I do now. That you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. And that hits me so hard. God loves the person you hate the most on this planet, the same as he loves you.
Oh, yeah.
Those type of things, man, have really helped change my life. When I'm in it, because I still got, what's ego stand for? Edge got out. That's what these compounds do. They give your ego a break, at least for a little bit. And when that ego takes a break, you'd be amazed at what's on the other side. But when my ego will flare up, because I'm still a fighter pilot and all that stuff, I just kind of remember those things. Like, man, every one of these people is God. Everyone, that was one of the biggest things, man. When I first, look at these bright lights right here. When I first experienced God sitting with the sacrament, the brightest, whitest light was right there. And I'm like, oh boy, I can tell what that is. And it just emanated love and compassion. And I was, I'm like, I was ashamed. I'm like, I am a drunk. I'm a horrible father. I'm a horrible husband. And it didn't have arms, but just with a wave of energy and love, it was all gone.
Wow.
And he said, Matthew, I don't make imperfect things. I got that stuff. Now get up. Let me show you what you can do. It's incredible. But you have to want to heal. Let me share with you real quick. A year after that life-changing experience, the foundation, I'm trying to help vets and first responders and everybody heal. I thought I was failing. I was in a bad place. I was in, man, it was almost like old Whiz. I was in a bad, very dark place because I'm trying to help people heal and I'm failing. Went to Costa Rica, and I actually sat with Iboga. So ibogaine comes from Iboga. Iboga's root bark from Gabon, Africa. Mm-hmm. Go into a carpenter shop and grab like a handful of sawdust and throw it in your mouth. That's Iboga. You're like sitting in this fire ceremony, a big thing of water, chewing on sawdust. And that's one scoop. I think I did like 4 scoops. That's the full root bark. So I did Iboga. And I remember, boom, there's God kind of appears again. And he was kind of like, always loving, but he's like, son, you're good. What's going on? I'm like, I'm failing. I'm trying to help all these people heal, and I'm failing you. And he's so funny and so loving. He's like, Matthew, you can't heal anybody. That's my job, son. Ooh. They have to want to heal.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Carry them, push them, drag them to the door, son. They got to want to walk through it. And then I got him. I'm like, it was 100-pound weight that fell off me, man, and I lifted up. I'm like, I felt kind of stupid. I'm like, I probably knew that intuitively, but I had to. Hearing it from him, it hit home. Like
crystal clear.
The commanding officer said that. I got it now. But it was so, because now I don't get too bent out of shape. Like people who, go on a retreat I'm like, you gotta put in the work, right? God didn't make robots. He could have made us 24/7 bow, and he gave us free will, right? To love, to hate, to all sorts of stuff. If you want to heal, you can do it. You don't,
yeah, that's
up to you. Amen.
Absolutely.
The healing
I
begins
truly
when you
believe
get back
that.
home. That's really what
And
it's
the fact
about.
of you bring up such a great point, because how hard is it to forgive, Whiz? It's probably, think about the people that hurt you the most. It cuts like a knife.
So the person who had abused me, before sitting with the sacrament, old Whiz, maybe wearing a black outfit with a shovel in a parking lot type of thoughts.
Yep.
After ceremony, love that person. I feel sorry, and I have so much empathy and compassion for them.
Yeah.
What happened? God does not make imperfect souls. This shell, something happened with the shell, man. Underneath all of that, they're a perfect soul. I could tell, well, I won't say when it was, but the ceremony, a guy shared after ceremony, he's like, a couple days before coming down here, I found out that my ex-wife and her boyfriend sexually abusing my daughter. He's like, I almost didn't come. And this guy's an operator. He's like, they were not going, nobody was going to find them ever again, Whiz, I guarantee you. He's like, and because he was in it, man, I was holding space. I'm like, oh, he's getting what he needs, but he's like, I took an axe and I hacked them apart. And then it was gone. And then I had this just wave of forgiveness and sorrow for both of them because I could see their souls. They were just this whiteness. But once I hacked this shit away, I felt better, but then I also felt sad for them. I'm like, oh my God, this guy went from potentially committing 2 murders to forgiving them. I'm like, wow. Yeah. One of the reasons I think these compounds were targeted so long is because they can turn warriors into peacemakers.
That's a challenge right there. Because what controls us the most? Our mind.
Correct.
And the heaviest burdens that we do carry is the thoughts up there.
Yeah. Well, it's that ego. It's the edge got out. That ego, that raging ego, man. If you can give that ego a little bit of a break, if you can soften the ego, man, it's amazing what's on the other side of that.
I agree. I try to be that person to always think of different people's perspectives because everything is about how I see things through your lens. And if we could see things through different people's lenses to understand what they're actually going through.
Correct. Yeah, because everybody's perception, reality is different. The way you perceive something completely different from mine. That's a great way to live, man. And these compounds are so powerful. Rick Doblin, he runs MAPS, right? He did a retreat. He was on Joe Rogan talking about this like 6 months ago. He got IDF, Israeli Defense Force veterans, and former Hamas terrorists. A year ago, if you got all those guys in a room, they would have cut each other's throats with a pen. I don't know how he did it, but he got them on a retreat. Post-retreat, they're best friends. He tried to bring him to psychedelic science in Denver in July, but the Trump administration wouldn't give the former Hamas dudes a visa or something like that, kind of proving that they're ignorant too. Exactly. He's like, man, these guys are touring the world right now up on stage. Like IDF and Hamas dudes, like, man, we sat in ceremony together. So I tell people, if I could kidnap Putin, Zelensky, Trump, and Mullah Jr., whoever it is, and we did a retreat, war would be over with. And most people go, ha ha. I'm like, I'm not laughing. I'm telling you the truth. And the people who haven't sat with this are the ones that giggle and go, oh, that would be a nice thing. I'm like, I'm not joking. I remember when I woke up the next morning, in my journal, I'm like, did the Pope do this? Or like probably not Joel Osteen. Like, do religious leaders have kind of what I just had type of thing like this? Because political leaders need this.
One of the things that we facilitate in Resilient Minds is spirituality and understanding what your center is in your life.
Amen.
What is your center? It's not about religion. It's not. It's your belief system, and your belief system is your belief system. Who am I to tell you what you're supposed to believe and what you're not supposed to believe?
Well, and I think this is great because Michael comes from a long 25-year history as a police officer in New York, so New Jersey, and so same thing. We tell them.
Whoa!
No, forget about it. That's what they said earlier today. Who was it that said that this morning?
North Jersey, New York City, South Jersey.
It was from this morning, an earlier podcast. We were talking to someone and they said that, so it was a joke about that. But Michael's never done or experienced any plant medicine at all,
not
ever.
one. So for me, this is. But am I closed-minded to it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But again, I saw I saw the other side.
Sure.
And I saw the street pharmacist, and I saw how they were handling things, and I saw how they were doing things, and really that was my whole life. My whole life was to try to stop that, to try to, you know. So, again, who am I to say, you know, what this is and what this isn't?
Yeah, we have a ton of, you know, it's funny, active Leos and retired in Sacred Warrior Fellowship. Hell, we had a FBI guy. I mean, so Michael Morgan. I told you about Mike Morgan. He was a Atlanta cop, Westchester up in New York cop, 30-year. Healed with ayahuasca. There's a lot of former Leos who are now in this space. And the plant medicine is definitely different. It's not a drug, right? Sure. I call it medicine, or I call it a sacrament now. Ibogaine is anti-addictive, right? I told you it destroyed alcohol in my life. I'm a coffee fiend. I couldn't even drink coffee for a year. They did a study with heroin addicts. They had to be in like deep withdrawal, like on death's bed, to sit with the ibogaine. Next morning, they're like eating bacon and eggs, like I haven't eaten breakfast. And they stopped the study after 3 years because 85% of these heroin addicts, after a single ibogaine treatment, never even looked at the stuff again. They stopped the study at 3 years because it was like, if you start doing heroin again after 3 years of not doing it, wasn't the ibogaine worked. Sure, yeah. So experiment complete. So these are not, you know, they're not fun or recreational. You're not doing ibogaine and going out in a club in Miami. You're not going anywhere for the weekend. These aren't fun.
If you try to go recreational, you're gonna get a correction.
So that's what we have to do. Part of my job is to, because it's funny, man. 3-4 years ago when I went to D.C., I got it wrong. When I went to D.C. under the Biden administration, I'm like, Democrats are already there, man. Mala beads, drug rugs, hippies. You guys are pro-psychedelics. Wrong. They were like pro-war in Ukraine and pro-Pfizer and Big Pharma. I'm like, what? It was the Republicans, the most law and order, anti-drug Republican. When I gave my 5-minute, me and Marcus, what happened? They're like, why aren't we doing this for veterans then? I'm like, man, we're in bizarro world here. So, and, you know, we got home, and Morgan Luttrell, his brother, who's also a SEAL, combat vet's like, man, what the hell happened to you? You look like I don't even recognize you. I did this. He went and did ibogaine. And I love his sentence. He's like, I got hit by a bus driven by God. And he healed and then ran for Congress. So he's one of our biggest proponents. You know, Dan Crenshaw, all the SEALs in Congress, all these, you know, Governor Perry doesn't get any more, 2-term governor from Texas. He went and did ibogaine a year ago. Governor Rick Perry, Republican energy secretary under Trump, ran for president, and he stole my line. 5 years ago, if I saw me on stage talking about advocating for psychedelics, I would have kicked my own ass. I'm like, I say that, man. Don't steal my line. So, you know, long point to your point is it's so interesting to see the law enforcement folks now because they're like, man, we were lied to about all this stuff. Now, you know, the heroines and the hard coke and anything made in the lab, you know, Breaking Bad stuff is bad. Yeah. But compounds God put on this planet for us to heal ain't illegal. They made them illegal for a reason. Who is it? John Ehrlichman, Nixon's, what was he, chief of staff? Before he died, he admitted that. He's like, man, we tarred the hippies with weed because we couldn't say, you know, being against the war is, you know, wrong. And then we hit the African Americans with the marijuana, and we totally use that as an excuse to crush both those groups. And here we are. That's why in the Oval Office, when Brian Hubbard's like, Mr. President, you ended the war on psychedelics because it was it was a bad war to begin with. And it's so interesting because you do look at that first psychedelic revolution, it was hippies. Now it's veterans. And they were protesting a war, man. You know, here's a rifle, go kill the yellow man on the other side of the planet. No, I love the yellow man. Why? Well, I took these mushrooms and I love everybody. Okay, well, that's a felony. Here's your rifle. Still go kill people. Here we are years later, decades later, saying, no, man, you know?
There's something came out yesterday about mushroom psilocybin all came from space hit the Earth with an asteroid. And
They absolutely think it's
that's
intelligence
crazy, like,
from
it's
another.
intelligence from another place or another space or another whatever it is. But yeah, it's
Well,
crazy
there's
stuff.
there's that big gap. I forget the name of the period between like sloped forehead, funging for stuff, and then standing upright. They think it's the stoned ape theory.
And
they think
the
some
Bible,
sort of
manna
caveman or
was
whatever,
mushrooms.
and it accelerated the neurogenesis of the brain.
Yeah, that's another
Bringing
theory.
us all back to resiliency and how we, how again the educational portion of it and how all the things that we're learning now about the brain and how the brain loves patterns. These are you talked about the neural pathways, creating new neural pathways in the brain. Getting those new neurons to fire together.
Correct.
And being able to, I like to call it, to do things over and over again and get that new thing going. With the educational portion of it, knowing what we know now, where do you see this going in the future?
Jeez, I couldn't believe I was in the Oval Office hearing the word ibogaine and psychedelics. I mean,
you tell that to me, or you tell that to anybody.
Correct.
I'm still in awe that we're even having this conversation.
That's exactly right. So I can't even, if this happened in the past 5 years, I can't even tell you what the next 5 years will look like. I mean, you and I were talking about stocks earlier. There are publicly traded companies that are making these compounds. I'm in a REIT, it's called Healing Realty Trust, where we're buying existing medical office space because you're not going to be able to go do mushrooms in your general practitioner's office. Like, hey, sit on the wax paper table, National Geographic from 1980 on the table, and enjoy your 8-hour mushroom journey. So the infrastructure doesn't exist. So it's parabolic at this point. Fox News, New York Times, Joe Rogan, President Trump. I mean, we're moving.
You just posted something about MDMA being used for active duty.
Active duty. The Secretary of War, the War Department, will start giving MDMA in under a year to active duty. I'm like, man, what about the veterans? So active duty. So yeah, so man, it's already here. I couldn't be happier, but I'm also a little worried. So we flew from like nothing to the deep end, ibogaine. Ibogaine is tough. You have to screen for cardio issues. I was on it. We're on an EKG the whole time. There's 2 nurses holding space throughout the night. There's a cardiologist sleeping downstairs in case something happens. The room next to us was like a mini crash room, like in a defibrillator, and
everything out of your system before you can go.
The Stanford study with the Navy SEALs, they gave him a magnesium drip, which mitigated some of the heart issues. So I'm happy. But I'm not happy we flew over easier things to land on ibogaine. I don't want to set us up for failure like, oh, well, because when I was in Harvard, if you're laughing at Harvard Divinity School last month, I was at Harvard Law School in November talking about these issues. And again, I thought I'd be a defendant who talked about it at Harvard Law School. But I sat next to what was her position? She was a senior FDA lady, and she leaned in, she's like, Whiz, not a chance in hell in my lifetime the FDA is going to approve ibogaine. It just has way too many issues. So are we walking into an ambush? Is the government going to do all the ibogaine stuff and go, we tried, but it's just too tough? I'm like, man, I'm sitting here with mushrooms, with psilocybin, it's no issues at all. Or the MDMA, or 5-MeO-DMT. So long answer, short question is, I don't know what the future looks like, man. But bring it back to resiliency. I remind people, especially after a lot of mine, you've survived every one of your worst days. Whenever I'm having a worst day, I go, man, you have survived every one of your worst days. And the worst day I'm not going to survive is going to be the most incredible day, I guarantee you. I've already been there a little bit. I got to visit, and it's pretty cool. But always remember that. You've survived every one of your worst days.
Yeah.
As long as you got air in your lungs, man.
I live each day because, one day it's going to be my last. And if you don't live that day, it's just trying to plan for the future and trying, our goal on this podcast and Kris and I, when we were bringing this idea together and our executive team, we want nobody to suffer in silence.
Amen.
And that is the key. I've seen so many of my LEOs, my law enforcement officers, my brothers, my sisters commit suicide. And I truly believe that it's just that position where you just want to end a problem. And you see people running in the storm. You see them all the time, and they want to help the helpers.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what you fight for every day, to help the helpers. But again, we're not putting our mask on first.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So how do we put that mask on first? And that's what we're trying to do right here.
You know what's interesting, man? And we're all similar type of upbringing or ages. We were taught that self-love or self-care is what? Selfish.
Yeah.
How dare you be concerned about you? Man, that was awful. Catholic Church, same type of thing. Like, oh, hey, man, you're the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. That's what, Jesus. So it's so funny, man. Who is it? Ram Dass. He talks about his spiritual teacher when he was sick and dying on his bed in India. All his students were like, oh, don't leave us, teacher. And he's like, where would I go? Right? We're just going to transcend to a higher level of consciousness. So care about you, man. Your body is a temple, right? If you're not caring about you, you can't give from an empty bucket.
Absolutely
We keep
not.
trying to pour in other people, man. You're empty. Yeah. Fill up. When you fill yourself up, you'd be amazed at what you can do for other people.
Absolutely. And I know we're coming to the end here, but more importantly, this is great things, and I just love what you're doing. Whiz, when I first got the opportunity to introduce to you by another Buckley, a very good friend of mine, Brian Buckley.
Yes.
And Brian connected us.
No relation.
Yeah, no relation. But it was like,
he owes me money or something. You know what's funny? So AJ Buckley, you ever watch SEAL Team? AJ Buckley, he reached out to me on Instagram. He's like, hey, you got a fighter jet? I'd like to fly in a fighter jet. So I took him flying a fighter jet. Gave him our No Fallen Heroes Foundation hat, and his character, Sonny, on SEAL Team, like each season, he had his season hat, and he wore our hat for that. But I bring this up because we're walking back from the jet, and we kind of look alike. I'm like, man, where are you from in Ireland? He's from County Cork. I'm like, I'm from County Cork. And I go, I wonder if we're related. He's like, it's an island. There's a small county. We're both named Buckley. And he looked at me like I was an idiot. I'm like, that's a good point. So, Buckley, right?
And listen, I know you take people for rides up there, right?
We do. Real quick, before the Harvard Divinity School, guess where I was? In Colorado. Phone rings. Hey, can you take Eric Trump flying in your fighter jet? I'm like, of course.
Absolutely.
So I think that, I'm not going to take credit for it, but he was my hostage for about an hour, 2 hours in the jet and briefing. I bent his ears on psychedelics on our mission. And then, 2 weeks later, phone rings from the White House. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but we do take people flying in the fighter jet, man.
Okay.
Do you want to go flying?
Give that camera a rundown.
But we'll. I definitely want to stay connected. I know our audience here is really intrigued. So how can anybody get a hold of you?
Man, official Whiz Buckley on Instagram. If you're a veteran, first responder, or family member, healing's possible. I'm living proof of that, man. Reach out. I'm available 24/7. But nofallenheroes.com, and we can try and get you some help. And go check out sacredwarriorfellowship.com. So No Fallen Heroes is kind of secular, but Sacred Warrior Fellowship, man, is... there's no way in hell I'd ever would have thought I would have started a church, but here I am, man. I'm no pope or anything, though. I don't wear any funny hats or robes, but I appreciate you guys having me, man. This has been awesome, and thanks for
everything that you do.
You bet.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, God bless. Right. I appreciate it.
Remember, life gives you the moment, but your response writes the story. Catch it, pause, reframe. This is Voices of Resiliency.